It's been a long time since we've been in the art room together, but we're lucky to have these art videos and Padlet so we could share our art with each other. One of my favorite projects for the end of the year was our owl sculptures. We would do little owl sculptures and we would say, "I will miss you," because we were moving on to the summer months and moving on to second grade. So as it was announced that we are not going to school this year, I will miss you over the summer for my friends that are coming back to first grade next year, and I will miss you to my friends that are moving on to the intermediate center. Kids that are going to the intermediate center, if there's something really cool about the related arts teachers in our building. Not only do we teach in the kindergarten and first grade building, but we get to see you again in fifth grade. So when you're big middle school kids, we get to have art class together. So it's just a bye for right now. And I'll see all of you again soon. So our owls, I made 2 videos. I made a video for salt dough, and that is to make a sculpture that looks like this for our owl miss yous. And I also made a video for a paper owl that can be folded, cut and folded. This could also use a paper plate for it. So it's up to you if you choose to use your salt dough. You could also use Play-Doh or Model Magic at the store. Or you could use a paper plate or a piece of paper. Either way that you make them, make sure you send them to me on Padlet. I love seeing your art, and I especially love seeing it all together. When I see it all together, it's like our bulletin boards at school. It makes me so happy. Well, enjoy this video, keep creating, and send me what you make. Okay, to make our salt dough, what you need to do is take 1/4 cup of salt, and then you're going to take a 1/2 cup of flour. So I'm just going to do 2 of these. So 1 salt, 2 flours, and then I'm going to stir my dry ingredients, mix them evenly, and then I'm going to add my water. I'm leaving my salt dough white because I plan on painting it later. If you would like your salt dough to be a color, add food coloring to your water. So our recipe was 1/4 cup of salt, 1/2 cup of flour, and 1/4 cup of water. Our salt dough, we're going to sculpt it into the shape of an owl. For this step, you're going to need a marker or something with a round point, maybe the end of a wooden spoon, and a butter knife. So what I'm going to do is I roll this into a ball, and I'm going to flatten it into a circle. First step. I'm going to push and I'm going to flatten it down. If you have a rolling pin, that would help with this step. Flattening it with your hands works too. Now you can see that it cracked around the outside edges. I'm just going to push and pinch those back together so they're nice and smooth. Smooth out the edges. Now, we're going to add texture to our clay. We're going to make this look like he has feathers. So with my Crayola marker or my wooden spoon at an angle, I'm just pushing into the clay, and it's kind of leaving a letter U shape connecting together to make a wavy line, and I'm going to do that halfway down my owl. Those are the feathers on the owl's body. Okay, after I do that, I'm going to fold my wings over. Again, pinching and pushing to make sure it's nice and smooth, and fold my other wing over. You can leave these smooth, or you can use something like a butter knife or a popsicle stick to push in another texture. This will be a straight line texture. Just that makes our sculpture more interesting to look at. And this part up here is going to fold down, and that becomes the face. There's the bottom of the face. And this part here, you're going to pinch and push into the shape of ears. I'm going to flatten it out, check my edges, and then I'm going to use my marker to push down in for one big owl eye and push down in for 2 owl eyes. And then with my butter knife, I can do a beak by pushing in a letter V. Now, what you're going to do with this is you're going to lift it up, put down some flour on the bottom so it doesn't stick while it's baking, and you're going to put it in the oven for about 3 hours to let it dry out on 200 degrees. Whatever your lowest temperature on your oven is, around 200 degrees, and you're just going to put it in there on a very low temp so it dries out and it hardens. This will dry if you just leave it out. It gets a little bit harder when you put it in the oven. So I'm going to go put mine in the oven. Okay, our owl is out of the oven. It baked for a few hours, and I did turn it over halfway through to dehydrate the other side. Baking isn't necessary. This will dry in the air, but it won't be quite as hard as this one, so I do recommend baking it. My owl I left white. I did not add food coloring, so now I'm going to decide on how I'm going to add color to it. You can paint it, you can color it, you can use markers. I actually tested out all of those methods on the back of here. So I had just some paint. I had paint watered down, and I put it on there, and it made a light gray. This blue is just a regular Crayola marker. The green is crayon. The red is permanent Sharpie. This orange is oil pastel, and the purple is a watercolor paint that I have. So I'm actually deciding to use the oil pastels. Oil pastels are like really waxy crayons. So I'm going to use these, I'm going to color them in, and using crayons, the cracks and the crevices, all the texture that we put in there, it will not allow you to color down into there. So you may want to paint and kind of push the paint down into it, or like what I'm going to do is I'm going to color on the top of this, and then I'm going to dip it in watered down acrylic paint, and then the watered down paint will go in all those cracks and crevices. When you're doing this, just pick materials that you have at home. Crayons would work great. Markers, fantastic. And if you have paint, that's good too. Whatever you have at home. Color it, make sure, this is a sculpture, so I want to make sure I get the sides. Leave those eyes white, so and I'm gonna dip it, but if I don't color it first, they're not gonna be white. So I'm gonna have to get a white crayon. Crayons will resist paint as well. I just have to make sure I go over it a few times. I'm pressing super hard to make sure it's nice and thick on there. Okay. And then what I'm going to do after I make sure I have everything that I want to be colored in is I'm going to take my container. I just put some regular paint right out of the bottle into here. I added some water, and I'm going to turn this over, put it down inside. I don't want it to get too wet because it will start to break down, and I turn it over. And you can see that the color is kind of pushing through. You could take a wet paper towel and dot it off. But that's how you do a resist. And anywhere that didn't get the paint, I'm just going to go around with a brush and push it in there. That's a quick way to get paint everywhere that you would like it. Okay, for the paper version of the owl, you will need a paper plate or some paper and scissors and a little bit of glue, crayons, anything to make a mark. So this is suggested, if you follow directions online, to use a paper plate. I didn't have a paper plate, so what I did was I just put my plate down, I traced a circle, and now I'm going to cut out that circle to start making my owl. So first start with a circle. Next step, what you're going to do is you're going to add some texture for the feathers. So right about here, halfway down, this is going to be the belly of the owl, the stomach. So I'm going to use, I have these really fun oil pastels, and I'm going to use those to make the feathers on my owl. I'm using a wavy line, letter U, over and over again to make those feathers. Letter U over and over. Looks like the texture of an owl's feathers. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fold one side in, and that becomes the wing. You're going to fold the other side in, and that's the other wing. And then I'm going to add some more texture to this, maybe some straight line texture, just so those wings stand out more. You could use whatever type of line you would like, or maybe just color this solid. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fold this down, and that becomes the face. You are going to need some glue to attach this down here. Some glue. And then you can add your letter V for the beak, the line across an upside down triangle. And then owls have big eyes. So what you're going to do is make a big circle for your owl eye and another big circle for your owl eye. I like to draw a line across for sleepy owl eyes. That's the owl's eyelids. And big dots. Maybe the dots are off to the side like he's looking down. Okay, and then you have a little owl craft.